The Chicago Bears have another tight end. They have signed tight end Robert Tonyan from the Green Bay Packers to a 1-year deal. Not sure about the money yet, but it's probably going to be a pretty cheap contract. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears free agency update video, which I'll be doing anytime the Chicago Bears sign a free agent. And I actually predicted this one, okay? I predicted this one in my mock offseason video, which I posted about a month ago. Probably the only thing for that video that I actually predicted correctly in regards to free agent signings. But yeah, I thought it made a lot of sense for the Bears to go after Robert Tonyan because we had a need at tight end number 2. We didn't really have a good tight end 2 last year. We had Ryan Griffin, O'Shaughnessy as well, but neither of those options really were that good for us last year. I thought we might draft one potentially, but I also thought it would make a lot of sense to sign one as a free agent, especially one that already knows the system and has worked under Luke Getsy in the past. I think it made a lot of sense for this connection to come back to Chicago. And he's actually from McHenry, Illinois. So he's a local guy. He grew up in Illinois. I'm not sure if he grew up being a Bears fan. I'll have to look that up. But regardless, now he is on the Chicago Bears playing for the rivals. Well, what used to be his rival, the Green Bay Packers, now switching over to the Chicago Bears. And I love it, okay? I think it makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about what it's going to bring to the Chicago Bears. So Robert Tonyan is 6'5", weighs 240 pounds, a very athletic dude. If you look at his athletic test that he ran at the combine in 2017, about 6 years ago, one of the most athletic tight ends to come out of that class. Very fast, very agile, has good acceleration, and that's why he's mainly a receiving tight end in this league. Okay, he's not very good at blocking. He can block every once in a while. That's why he's a tight end, obviously, but he's not going to be as good of a blocker as the top blocking tight ends in the NFL, which is why he's best served probably as a secondary option behind a Cole Kmet that can block better than a Robert Tonyan can. I think that in 12 personnel, this could make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. Okay, it's going to be a fun duo now between, Cole Kmet and Robert Tonyan, both also guys that grew up in Illinois in the suburbs, both being tight end for the Bears. Cole Kmet being a better blocker, obviously, and also being the tight end number 1, probably the first option at tight end. But Robert Tonyan is a very good number 2 as well if you want to go in 12 personnel, which a lot of teams nowadays do, a lot. And especially in this scheme that we run, okay, the Shanahan type of offense, you do sometimes employ 2 tight end sets, and it can be beneficial, especially if you don't have the best offensive line yet in front of Justin Fields to be in 12 personnel, which hopefully the offensive line also gets upgraded. It will in the coming months as the NFL draft starts and as we make more signings, maybe a few more signings on the O-line. So the O-line will get better, but being in 12 personnel still is a advantageous position to be in if you do have 2 good tight ends like the Bears now do. Okay, and I'm not calling Robert Tonyan like a high-end tight end. He's obviously not really good or anything, but as a secondary complementary piece, he's going to be a big boost to the Chicago Bears offense because he brings great receiving ability to the Chicago Bears at the tight end spot. So reading over his stats from the last 5 seasons, so you can see with the Green Bay Packers, I believe he was undrafted, but he got not much production during his first 2 years, only 177 yards in the first 2 years, mainly a backup during that time. But in 2020 is when he broke out and had a crazy amount of production in the red zone. He had 11 touchdowns that year. 11 touchdowns, insane for a guy that was basically a non-factor before that season. So really got involved in the red zone. Luke Getsy being part of the planning there, being part of the offensive crew there in Green Bay. He helped scheme up, some of the plays that did get Robert Tonyan open in the end zone, using his athleticism, using his speed to their advantage. He's a more slender tight end. He's not very thick. He's like 6'5", weighs, I believe, 240 pounds. So definitely not the biggest tight end, but that slender build does help him, get mismatches in the red zone, which, was on full display during 2020 for the Green Bay Packers. He also had 586 receiving yards during that year as well, playing with obviously quarterback Aaron Rodgers. And after that, he hasn't been as productive. He only had 204 receiving yards in 2021. Not that many receiving touchdowns. 2022, he actually had more yards, 470 receiving yards, but not very involved in the red zone, each of the following 2 years. So, you may ask what happened to Robert Tonyan? Why is he not, being targeted as much as he was in 2020? And that's anybody's best guess, but the Chicago Bears hope that secondary tight end receiving ability can be brought back again now with the Chicago Bears, because Robert Tonyan also is not that old. Like, he's only 28 years old, so it's not like he's on the wrong side of 30, whereas athleticism and speed is dying down. He's still a pretty good athlete, and he still can get open if schemed open, and that's the key thing here. Like, Luke Getsy is going to have to create formations, create packages where he is going to be able to get schemed wide open, because he's also not the type of guy that's going to be like a Travis Kelce that's going to be getting open all by himself, but he does have just enough athleticism to be schemed open and produce for you if you can do that for him. And his hands are pretty reliable too, okay? I mean, you saw in the red zone, he did really good in 2020. So he is a guy that Justin Fields definitely could benefit from a lot in having in this offense, because you need multiple great options to go to, okay? And it's going to be another great option for Justin Fields to throw to, mostly in the red zone. And that's the thing, like, I'm not expecting Cole Kmet's, if you're into like fantasy, like his production probably is not going to diminish that much with the addition of Robert Tonyan, because I still expect Cole Kmet to be the tight end number one for sure, because he's a much better blocker, has much higher upside because he is much younger. But the two actually could complement each other pretty well. It's also really fun stealing a player from the Green Bay Packers, because I remember every single Packers player in 2020 told me that Robert Tonyan was the next greatest thing. He's going to be the most underrated tight end in the NFL. They were super mad that he didn't get into the Pro Bowl. I'm sure they're all going to change their minds now and say that he's the most overrated tight end in the entire NFL, because that's what Packers fans do. Flip-flop like that when the player goes to the Bears. But, you know, jokes aside, I mean, he obviously knows the Packers playbook. We have similar playbooks. We have similar schemes. Obviously, Luke Getsy and Matt LaFleur. So it's going to be a pretty easy switch for him. You know, going from Green Bay to the Chicago Bears, won't have to spend too much time learning a brand new playbook and learning how to play in a new scheme, because he already knows how to play in the scheme. And that's why I thought it made so much sense for the Chicago Bears to reunite Luke Getsy and Robert Tonyan once more. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the signing down below in the comments. Again, I'm not sure about the money just yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be around what I predicted, around like a $4 million for this year. Obviously, because he's a backup, so he's not going to be paid, you know, some crazy amount of money, but it's not going to break the bank. Obviously, Bears still have so much cap space to spend this year. I believe we will be making more one-year deals, you know, in the coming days and weeks, because wave one of free agency kind of is past already. There's still going to be some guys out there searching for multiple year contracts, like a Yannick Ngakoue, maybe a few others, but for the most part, the multi-year major investment guys, those have already been signed. So now it's going to be like the 1 or 2 year deals to round out the rest of the Chicago Bears roster. And obviously, keep in mind, we have the NFL draft coming up too. 10 picks in the NFL draft, I believe, like 4 in the top 100. So again, I've been saying this all along, but do not freak out if we're not signing like the specific guys that you want, because Ryan Poles said he wants to build through the NFL draft, and guess what, guys? That's exactly what he's going to be doing, okay? He's going to be building the majority of this roster long-term through the NFL draft and supplementing it with additions like this, okay? Like a Robert Tonyan on a 1-year deal, or like a Tremaine Edmonds on a 4-year deal, okay? A superstar at his position. I think those guys he definitely will pay. Like a DJ Moore, he will pay, but he doesn't want to pay, I guess, average guys big money, which, you know, I can understand. So again, let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comments. Packers fans, if you're seeing this, what do you guys think about Robert Tonyan now coming over to Chicago Bears? Let me know down below. As always, bear down.